Now, the subject, European Union, South Asia relations in the current geopolitical context, would require me to first start with my assessment of the geopolitical context. There are 4 points I would like to make. My first point is that the world order that we had known since the end of the Second World War in 1945 is no longer in intact shape. We see that there is a complete disarray of the norms that had underpinned that order. We also see a disturbing trend of unilateralism, whereby major centers of power which have emerged are exerting their power potential unilaterally, with multilateralism on the descendant. And we also see that it is now a truly multipolar world with several centers of power. But some other disturbing trends include the rise in xenophobia, hatred for outsiders, and narrow nationalism. We also see the world had worked hard on free international trade, and now protectionist walls are going up. We see migrants no longer a fresh blood into societies, but are viewed as security threat or economic threat. Even climate change has become controversial despite a universal consensus on it because of the United States policies under Trump administration. So the worldwide, there is a disorder that we see around, and the rule-based international order is sliding back. The second trend that I see in the global geopolitical context is that there is a major power competition, particularly between the United States and China, which is intensifying. And we have also seen this competition play out, particularly in Asia, where the United States is relying on its military muscle through Indo-Pacific strategy, Quad, and other instruments. And the Chinese are relying on their economic muscle, essentially through their programs such as Belt and Road Initiative to reach out to the rest of the world. So world is not yet divided into camps, and the Cold War is not yet in place, but this competition is quite complex, and the countries are being called upon to make choices in favor of one or the other. The third geopolitical context I want to highlight is with regard to South Asia, and the fourth with regard to European Union. On South Asia, this is a region which remains least integrated. Unlike Europe, we have the biggest country in India, but it seems to be at loggerheads with nearly all other South Asian countries, including Pakistan, Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, Nepal, and even Maldives. And SAARC, which is the South Asian Association for Regional Cooperation, created in 1985, is also dysfunctional at the moment. On the European Union side, we see that things are changing there too. The relations between Europe and United States, the so-called transatlantic alliance, has weakened. We also see some economies of Europe not doing very well. And then above all, there is a war in Ukraine, which has created considerable hardships for Europeans. And we also see European countries spending more on their security and defense budget. So this is the world we are looking at this moment. Now, the subject, whether European Union and South Asia have a very potent relations, I'm afraid that there is very little region-to-region engagement. the fault is not that of European Union. It has done well as a region, but South Asia has not done, unfortunately. Two reasons for that. One is because there is no regional integration at this time. And second, the focus of European Union is on India, the bigger country, rather than South Asia as a whole. Another point I want to make on this is that the emphasis of European Union has mostly been on economic investment and commercial relations with individual countries in South Asia region, including, of course, with Pakistan and Bangladesh, which focus a lot on GSP plus. But then most of the individual countries have their own economic partnerships with India, but as well as with other countries. So not as a region, but with individual countries. Third point I would like to make within this context is that Europe somehow tends to tilt towards India, possibly to push back China. That we think has given a limited role to the European Union in South Asia. I think this perspective needs some change because there are considerable opportunities of staying engaged with South Asia. Other countries, initiatives such as China-Pakistan Economic Corridor and Chinese growing interest in other countries, and the Europeans themselves also want to stay engaged probably with China. So that I would feel is something that the Europeans might wish to consider, that besides India, they might wish to increase their political engagement with other European countries, other South Asian countries. Politically, I would say that Europe's role has been traditionally limited in South Asia, except for UK, which had, of course, colonial links here. And we believe that to give you an example, in the recent India-Pakistan crisis, while there were several countries which were trying to play a role to mediate somehow, including particularly United States, Saudi Arabia, Turkey, even Iran. But European Union as a whole and individually was not really there playing much role. So I believe that politically also they need to be a little bit more active with South Asia and contribute to making this region also learn from some of the highlights that European Union has achieved. The exclusive focus that your EU has on human rights, labor standards is well placed, but I think a much greater attention needs to be placed on education. You are a university yourself, education, public health, and other areas which would contribute to the social development aspects of South Asian countries. Finally, a word or two about Pakistan's relations with Portugal. As I indicated, Portugal is a respected name in Pakistan. We have excellent relations with your country, but the commercial and trade links are really very limited. I think there's much greater scope, but even greater scope is on the cultural side because Portugal is a very rich culture, and and it's a bastion of tourism. So there's much that Pakistan can also learn from Portugal.